Hi, everyone. My name is Steph Reed, and I'm the Director of Marketing at LSpark. LSpark is a Canadian startup accelerator located in the heart of Kanata North. LSpark Accelerator is designed to ensure startups have the right fundamentals and talent to scale. Our expert mentors work with entrepreneurs to think big and drive business plans that fuel the success and execution of their visions. At LSpark, we have 4 accelerator programs. The first is our SaaS accelerator, which challenges companies to think about how to perfect product market fit, identify early adopter prospects, define sales channels, grow revenue, build their teams, and help them get pitch ready. So we introduce them to potential investors, kind of like Dragon's Den. Our second program is our autonomous vehicle accelerator. Founded in partnership with BlackBerry QNX, our BlackBerry LSpark Accelerator works with startups who are developing next generation applications focused on vehicle connected services and cloud connectivity to the vehicle. So this is all about self-driving cars. Super cool stuff. The third program is our MedTech Accelerator. The TELUS LSpark MedTech Accelerator supports companies in developing innovative connected medical devices and services aligned with emerging global IoT security standards. And the last program, last but certainly not least, is our Compass North Accelerator. And this one is created in partnership with Queen's University out of Kingston. Compass North is a 5-month accelerator program for women-led companies in the greater Kingston region. Through hands-on mentoring and tactical workshops with industry experts, the program is designed to help women-led tech companies accelerate the growth of their companies. So a little bit about me. I started my career, well, first and foremost, I graduated with a degree in commerce from Carleton University and went right into working in marketing at an accounting firm here in Ottawa. After working at the accounting firm for a couple of years, I realized quite quickly that you reach a ceiling early on when you're in marketing at an accounting firm. So I decided to spread my wings and I started working for a tech startup here in Ottawa, which was super fun. We have a few special guests coming later in our chat, so I'll let them tell you a bit more about startup life, but it was a super cool experience. When I joined LSpark, it was the perfect marriage between the professional services side of things and the startup world. And I get to work with startups every single day to help them grow their businesses and specifically work with them on creating marketing strategy that helps drive growth. So now I'll turn things over to my colleague, Natasha, to tell you a bit about herself.
Hey guys, I'm Natasha Tardioli, the Community and Events Manager here at LSpark. I've been here for just a year now. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary. But before LSpark, I just want to let you know that I had no background in tech, no idea really what a startup was, had never heard of LSpark before. I was actually working for a nonprofit organization like in the rec world. So I was doing communication and marketing with them. From there, I went to a bigger retail company on their marketing department team, doing social for them. I wasn't happy. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. It was a really stuffy world. And I wasn't sure exactly what I didn't like about it, but I knew that there was something. That's actually when Steph found me on LinkedIn, and they were recruiting for their marketing team of 2. And she asked me if I was interested in chatting, and I was like, sure, why not? And so here we are. But yeah, I think personally, I'm a huge advocate for LinkedIn now because it opened me up to an opportunity that I had no idea about. And I think now I'm part of this ecosystem and this team, and it's something I didn't even know existed, like right here in Ottawa. So for those of you who haven't considered this world, I think highly recommend kind of checking it out and seeing if there's something here for you. I guarantee you that there is. And also kind of don't fret if you end up working for a company that, doesn't really like excite you. I think for me, it was just being open to opportunities, even though I already had what a lot of people considered a really good opportunity, but wasn't necessarily happy. So kind of always be open to chatting and be open to seeing where those conversations lead you, because obviously here I am a year later, like thanking myself that I got that LinkedIn message from Steph, but that I also took the call and thinking about how different my life would be today if I said I wasn't available or said I wasn't interested. So that's my big key takeaway. But we have two people here that now we're going to introduce. So I'm gonna let them in here. So they'll pop up in just a second.
Our special guests have arrived.
Here they are.
Here they are without their videos on.
Hi guys.
Oh,
Hey, here they are, Kibby and Holly. Okay, so we just kind of shared our story a little bit, our path that like led us to Elspark. So maybe if you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about like your story and how you ended up as a part of this community.
Sure, I'll go ahead. So hey everybody, my name is Kibby Pollock and I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of MyPitboard. So I guess I'll go with the story. So originally when I was doing my master's degree and also working as an engineering technician in the racing industry, found a pain point that needed to be solved and wanted to put something that I love in the tech industry with my absolute passion in the motorsports world, and put together a company here, MyPitboard, and that's pretty much. And then, as we started the company from scratch, Elspark, we got introduced to Elspark to work with them to help grow the company and accelerate our growth, and that's pretty much how we came to life. And where we are today is also part of Elspark, and it's been a huge help and success to where we are. So yeah.
Yeah, and then my name's Holly. I started with MyPitboard about just a little bit over a year ago now. I started with them when I was doing my last co-op term, and then I ended up being hired on full-time in the summer with them. So I started out as their marketing specialist, and then now I'm currently their marketing lead and sales lead. And yeah, I'm still finishing up a little bit of my degree, so I kind of do part-time with them and then full-time whenever my schedule laxes up. But it's been great. We've been working with Elspark as well, as Kibby mentioned, and unfortunately because of the pandemic, like we've been pretty in and out of the office, but we've had the time to get to know people there, and it's been really fun and great. So yeah, that's me.
awesome. Thanks, guys. So Kibby, you mentioned a little bit about, your involvement in Elspark. What attracted you to an accelerator in general? Like, what were some of the highlights of being part of the program? And I know you were in another accelerator prior to Elspark, so you can even just speak about the programs in general.
Yeah, I think accelerator programs are great, especially if you're starting up and you're a first-time founder and it's the first time that you're jumping into building a company. I think they're absolutely a must for every person who's trying to start a company for the first time, even if you've already started companies in the past. I mean, just the networking aspect and getting, utilizing other people's networks and accelerators networks to get you in contact with the right people to help direct your vision and direct all the resources properly, because you don't have a lot of, you're doing a lot as a founder, to begin with. So it could be doing development, anywhere between, actually writing software, building hardware, to running the business, and all the finances is a lot. So, your personal time and also your resources and finances are quite small. So accelerators, do a really great job in pointing you in the right direction and making sure that that you're utilizing your time and your resources properly, and that you're making the key contacts and getting you in touch with the right people, so that, the people that you're working with are really solving the right problems for you, specifically to your company. And that's something that Elspark really did, is that they provided me with a really good group of people that were mentoring us on a weekly basis to make sure that, we were growing the business properly. We had a good financial operation plan. We had a good business model that would suit that financial operations. And then we were in front of investors to make sure that we had the funds to go ahead and bring this vision that we planned on week by week to life. And yeah, it's been really great, in terms of really tailoring with people who have, vast experience within this industry, who've, been key leaders within their respective industries at a certain point in time, that have a lot of knowledge in growing companies, running companies, whether it's in the tech or whatever, whatever world you're operating in. But to use that knowledge base, and especially as a first-time founder, it was so crucial for personal growth and also business growth. It's it's really like, I think you need to take advantage of as many accelerators as you can, really, to help you get you onto that rocket ship trajectory. So Yeah,
I
support.
love it. This is our designated LSpark spokesperson.
I was
But
gonna say setting the bar high for me. Geez, I was like, that's a good answer. Sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna jump to the next question, kind of, but if you have anything else to add, Holly, feel free. But yeah, basically, so some of the listeners, audience members might not really have the full picture of what it means to be like part of a startup or in the startup world in general. But thanks to shows like Dragon's Den, they do have some idea of what it means to like pitch your business, pitch your company. But from the inside perspective, Kivi and Holly, like what does that actually look like from your perspective on like preparing for that experience and just like standing up in front of people? Right now it's all virtual, but eventually it'll go back to being in-person pitches. And like, what does that look like for you guys?
I mean, you can touch more on the investor stuff. I can give a little insight to the startup world, but you've been all doing all the investor stuff, so.
Okay, I'll touch on the Dragon's Den point of view. Yeah, so what you see on TV isn't really, it's not reality. Reality is that, I mean, well, what you see on Dragon's Den, the investors, the way they come at you with questions and stuff like that is pretty accurate. But, you know, the pressure and stuff like that is, sorry, I'm kind of going a roundabout way here. So how about I'll give you my experience. So my experience, you know, my first time ever pitching my company or my idea was actually at U Ottawa elevator pitch, and it was in front of 200 or 300 people. And I was an engineer, so a little bit introverted at the time. And I almost vomited, to be honest with you. I was so uncomfortable, but yeah, I was like, oh my God.
I'm gonna interrupt for 1 second. I remember, so to be a part of LSpark, you have to go into a room of like 20 investors in order to like pitch your idea to be a part of the accelerator. And I'll never forget, I was like manning the door and Kibi was outside literally like freaking out. And I was like pep talking him, being like, you're gonna do great, they'll love you. So it's definitely, I can feel the like I know what he means by the nerves because I saw it firsthand. Like I can't even imagine the pressure going to meetings. My God.
Yeah, and so you know that was probably, you know, going into that pitch that Steph talked about was probably, I would say maybe my third legitimate pitch, and this one was my first pitch in front of actual real investors, where like LSpark provided me with the investor list with, I think it was 30 angels and VCs, and I remember looking at it like, oh my gosh, these are some significant people that, you know, can potentially fund my company. And that was my first time having a legitimate pitch in front of real investors, and so I was very, very nervous for that, as Steph saw and commented on that. But you know, I think the nerves are also a good thing. I mean, you at the end of the day, you can't be scared. I mean, this is your dream. You know, it's not like when you go to pitch it, it's never fully formed. It's never going to be fully formed as a business, even as yourself as an individual. So you just need to go in and, you know, you're as prepared as you'll ever be. So just go pitch your idea and you know, people are going to probably always have negative things to say, but you know, and everyone has different opinions and different backgrounds and different experience. And you got to go in with an open mindset to want to be like, I'm building this business and I want to work with some great people. So if there's investors that want to get on board, great. But if they want to provide you with, you know, at the end of the day, when you go to pitch, they're going to provide you with your feedback that'll essentially help you get on that right trajectory to, you know, maybe it might fine tune your vision and fine tune your pitch for the next time you go, because you're learning each time you go pitch from all these investors, what their feedback, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. So you can't really be scared to go pitch and put yourself on the edge there. You need to just, yeah, you need to learn from every experience that you can. And you know, getting yourself in front of these investors that see, you know, hundreds of companies is super important. So you know, you should try and go in and pick their brains and trying to figure out what pain points that they're looking to be solved, if you can. But just take it as a huge learning experience, and don't be scared to get some bad, you know, to give you negative feedback, because negative feedback will result in an overall positive thing. So yeah, and I mean, I feel like people are really nervous and stuff, but after you've done 2 or 3 and you get used to being in a room full of sharks, I mean, just go in there and just, no one knows the company better than yourself. So, you know, just be prepared and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Like being yourself, and you know the company better than anybody because you built it. So you're so right. Having confidence in that. We're gonna switch gears a little bit, and I'm gonna direct this question at Holly. Um, as a recent grad, you could probably speak to this the best. But what advice would you give to someone who is fresh out of school and not entirely sure what they want to do with their career? Why would you suggest the idea of joining a startup?
Yeah, so I mean, I think startups are a great way, especially because more often than not, it is quite a small team. So I mean, you get the opportunity to wear all these different hats. So for instance, I mean, I graduated with my marketing degree, but I was really confused about exactly what about marketing I really wanted to do. Like I knew I really liked to work with people. I knew I loved to be creative. I knew I liked to work in a fast-paced environment, but there wasn't like a specific thing that I really had my eye set on. And then when I was with MyPitboard, because we are a smaller team, the guys kind of were saying, why don't you get more into sales? Why don't you do more calls with our dealers and distributors? Why don't you get more into that? And then I kind of started to shift gears a little bit more into like a sales oriented focus. So I mean, that was really great for me. And then even if I mean, another great thing about startups too is that you kind of I find sometimes in other corporate jobs you fall into the trap that sorry
That was me. It was my count.
No, don't worry. You fall into the trap where you're always kind of counting down the time. You don't have a lot to do. And the thing about startups is that there's always something to do. So I mean, you get to really do trial and error and get to learn what you love.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that was kind of my experience too when I worked in a startup, and even any small team. I know for Natasha and I, like we both like dive into everything. Like we always have our hands in each other's projects and we're supporting one another. And it's a really great environment, to your point, Holly, to like explore what areas you actually enjoy. So as a recent grad, like not really sure what you want to do, by joining either a company with a smaller team or B, a startup, it really allows you to sort of explore your options in the real world. Because I can tell you, at least from my experience in university, textbooks are not a reflection of real life at all. So,
and kind of what you were saying too, it's nice because even like when you are on a close-knit team, you kind of start to learn, not even because I am the only marketer right now with MyPitboard. So not only do you start to get a hand in other people's jobs as well. So you get to see their point of view. I mean, I've gone to the opportunity to see a lot about operations. And even though I don't know a lot about, manufacturing, I've gone to see that. So you really do get to learn quite a bit for such a short amount of time. So, I mean, it's been really great.
Yeah. And I guess briefly, Kivi, like how did you decide, oh, I'm just going to graduate and do my own thing? Like that must have been a scary decision. Like how do you, like I know for me, like the thought of just starting my own business is a very daunting thing. And I mean, I found comfort in joining an organization that was already, there waiting for me. But sort of, can you tell us a bit about your decision-making process when you were like, I'm doing this on my own?
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean it's a hard decision, but for me, just speaking about my own experience, I was never really sure what I wanted to do. I've always loved working with tech and just building things. For me, growing up, I've always just built random things all the time, and I always had an endless curiosity. So, I during my undergraduate degree, I had the chance of working with a couple other companies, and I really just felt like a cog in a giant machine, and it was demotivating actually. And so, I was really nervous about getting a job. I felt like I wouldn't be a good fit. I felt like I wouldn't have the knowledge or whatever. And it was never really driven to just have a desk job. And, when I did have it, it was quite, I found it wasn't very challenging enough, and I really wasn't being challenged. And so, the process to actually starting this company was more about, coming up with an idea. It was more about having a passion about something and wanting to solve it myself, and wanting to, put multiple versions of my passion for tech and building things, but also my passion in the industry that we're currently working in, which is the motorsports and power sports industry. Because if it's something that's passionate, if you're really, really passionate about, then then it's not scary at all to jump into it. I mean, for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to build this thing that solves this pain point that I know. And so together with my co-founder, who was my friend, we were just playing around, and the money that I was making for my master's, I would be like, hey buddy, I'll give you $2,000 if you come write some software for me for 2 weeks. And we can go build this, and I'll go test it on my motorcycle in a parking lot. And all of a sudden, it worked, and we worked together. It's like, oh my gosh, it's cool, it worked. Then I brought it to another friend, and he's like, oh man, this is really cool. You can actually maybe build a product from this. And then that's when I kind of started to realize, well, there wasn't a product like this, and maybe I can actually build a business. And so I kept playing around with the idea about building the business, and then I started to try and apply to accelerators, and that's when I got into accelerator, and that's when they legitimately told me that, hey, you can actually build a serious business from this. And then that's kind of when it came to a reality, and that's really what's driven me to start this company. I wasn't nervous about it the whole time. It just said I never once stopped to think, oh, it's going to be a ton of work. I mean, now looking back, I mean, it's been a ton of work, but it's been a great growth process for myself personally. I get to build tech from the ground up that tons of engineering teams get to work on, but now I get to work on it with really close group of people. I get to work in an industry that I love. I work long hours, but to me, it's never seemed like long hours because it's always been something that I've been passionate about. So it really, as a commitment wise, I mean, yeah, it's been tons of commitment, but I really have enjoyed every part of the process about it. And it's been like, if you really find those things that mesh together, and it ends up, being your own company, then that's the best way to do it. Make sure you're doing something that you're absolutely passionate about, or else, yeah, it's going to be a long road. But I think, yeah, it's not too much of a commission. Yeah, the commitment is really nothing if you're happy with what you're doing. So it just kind of happens, and I think that's the best way of doing it. You don't want to start a company just based on the hype, right? You want to do it because you love it.
I think like something you said earlier was like a little bit of fear is good. Like it's not a bad thing to be a little bit scared of what you're doing. So just because you're a little scared doesn't mean you should kind of throw the idea away altogether. But we're kind of running short on time. So I'm going to ask you both like a really quick question, kind of put you on the spot here. But like for these new grads, recent grads, if you had to give them like one snippet of advice, what would you say to them that maybe someone told you at their stage, or just something short and quick? What would you say to them?
I would say, honestly, while you're in school, try your best to kind of start your own stuff. Like if you're into marketing, start doing your own writing, maybe get into a little bit. This can apply to kind of in such a short amount of time, because I feel like people get really intimidated by the fact that you need all this experience coming out of school, but it's really simple as just kind of practicing what you love and doing what you love. I mean, there's so many opportunities, especially with COVID right now, to get yourself up on Upwork, get yourself up on Fiverr, like be hired through friends and family to do jobs here and there, because employers really value that and they like to see initiative in young students as well. So I mean, that would be my biggest piece of advice. But
Love that. I think
Solid
advice.
advice.
I remember, I remember I got my first job because I did a little branding project for a family friend, and the employer saw it and was like, oh, that's so cool. And in my mind, it was like a little project that I was doing on the side.
Yeah,
that stuff holds value. So I think that's super.
Employers love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It shows initiative. Over to you, Kibby.
Yeah. My advice is, don't be scared. I mean, it's okay to have fear, because fear means you're going into the unknown. And if you're going into the unknown, it's all from a growth perspective. So yeah, don't be scared, whether it's, joining a company, joining a startup, doing something you've never done before. I mean, just go for it. I mean, you're gonna, fear is always going to be there, but fear is there because you're going into something you don't know, and because it's going to turn out to grow you in some sort of way that you just don't know where that path is going to lead. So yeah, don't be scared. I mean, I think a lot of students are nervous when they join school because they don't know what they're going to do, which is no one tells them that it's going to be okay. You don't have to know what you're going to do, but just jump into something and you'll figure it out. So don't be scared to do that.
Yeah.
For it. Kibby's tagline.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with us. It was really great chatting with you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. This is fun.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Soon. Thanks everyone for joining. Take care.